detection. That's why they're called what they are, and that's what all the tales say. Many say they live beside us, but only appear if they choose to. That's convenient, Magnus replied. It was one thing to fool some idiot 1,000 years ago, but how could they avoid detection by modern technology? What if they simply don't go where people are? Aaron squatted and tightened a screw on his tripod. Wouldn't this be the perfect place for them? Far from the cities and towns, a place where they know humans won't build. Listen to yourself. Magnus threw up his hands. It's not the 10th century. If little elves or goblins were running around Iceland, we'd have pictures of them. Specimens. Evidence. Not stories passed down by grandmothers. That's only the case if we're right about everything we know, Aaron countered. How can you be so sure? I never knew you were such an idiot. It's the burden of the believers to prove something like that exists. Magnus's gaze flicked to Helga. You too. I always thought you were more sensible than that. Helga sighed. I don't know. Magnus looked relieved. You brought them up. I assumed too much. Aaron nodded, an eager look on his face. I don't know, she repeated with a shrug. I'm not saying I do believe, but sometimes when we're out at a place like this, I can't help but wonder. For all we know, they prefer the ice and the snow and live underneath it. I became a scientist to understand the world, and the more I learned, the more I accepted I knew far less about it than I thought I did. But that's not why I question myself about Huldafolk. What then? Magnus pressed. My parents and grandparents, if you asked them, would deny they believed in any such creatures. But my grandparents always left offerings and asked for permission before building on their land. Any feature that looked unusual, especially rocks, they left alone. I grew up in Reykjavik in an apartment. It wasn't like my parents needed to placate the Huldafolk, but sometimes... Her voice trailed off and she sighed. It had been a bad idea to bring up the subject, given the glower on Magnus's face. He folded his arms. It's too late to abandon this farce of a conversation. Continue. When I visited my grandparents' house, sometimes I felt like I was being watched, Helga admitted, especially at some of the mounds. Not all the time, and more in the past, but sometimes. Childhood imagination running away, insisted Magnus. Maybe, Helga replied. I still check the house and land every once in a while, since my parents are getting too old to go that far from the city. Do you leave offerings? Aaron asked. Helga smiled. If they're not real, it can't hurt, right? It's not a harmful tradition. It's always wrong to believe in a lie, Magnus said. What's next? Are you going to say we have to warn the Coast Guard to make sure Grendel doesn't sneak across the sea? It can't hurt, right? There might be one. Legends are nothing more than people distilling what they know about the world, Helga insisted. Yes, people often get the details wrong, but I think it's arrogant to dismiss them completely. Arrogance is insisting that made-up legends and folklore don't have to be proven to be accepted as fact, Magnus sneered. You're almost worse than him. Aaron laughed and slapped a glove to his chest. That hurts. I don't understand, Helga admitted. He at least owns his idiocy, Magnus explained. You won't say firmly one way or another if you believe. Because I don't know, Helga snapped. She took a deep breath. I understand what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. But there are also a lot of strange things in science that seemed counterintuitive at first. She placed a hand over her heart. Go back a few 100 years and try to convince everyone that diseases are caused by tiny invisible creatures that no one can see with the naked eye. Would it sound any less strange to them? Wouldn't it sound like magic? It's not the same thing. Magnus jabbed a finger at her laptop. Get going on that already. If we came all the way out here to set up our...